Hello, it's so good to see you today. We are going to talk about homeless clutter. There's many different types of clutter. We sometimes talk about fantasy self and sentimental clutter, definitely. Homeless can be one of the most frustrating when we have these things that just float around on our flat surfaces and we really want to find a place once and for all. So I have some really good tactics for you. And I well, I don't need to be the one to mention like, wow, can you believe we're less than 2 weeks away from Christmas? Isn't that just wild? And I hope I've been hearing a lot of comments from those who are thankful for the simplifying they have done in their homes because they are starting to reap some of the benefits this holiday season. And so that makes my heart so happy to hear. I definitely feel that myself. But isn't it funny how I don't know. I still find myself maybe a little bit on edge this time of year. My mom went to the post office for me and she was just texting me like right before I jumped on. And here's what happened. I went to the post office yesterday and I bought all of the $2 stamps that they had in stock. And I will tell you a little bit later what the $2 stamps were for because they're for a very special project that we're working on. And so I bought all the ones that they had, and the gal was very friendly, and she said, "If you come back tomorrow, I will have more. They're in the safe. I have to get them out of the safe. So come back tomorrow." She's like, "I'm going to write a note for myself. I'll have them out." And I sent my mom back today. She was going to the post office. I'm like, "Can you get these stamps for me?" And she just texted and she was like, "Well, are $1 stamps okay?" The gal didn't have a chance to get them out of the safe. And in my head, I'm thinking like, I'm sorry, she told me she was gonna get the stamps out, and I am actually saving the postal workers some time because I'm putting stamps on packages, like, I know the weight, I'm putting the stamps on so they don't have to meter each of them their own because they're going media mail, and you can't do that from home to meter them, and so I'm like, I am doing her a favor, and she can't get the stamps out of the safe, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, Dawn, like, what is wrong with you? Like, good night. The postal workers are like some of the busiest people in the world right now, right?" And don't even get me started on the cost of postage, right? And and even as I was in there yesterday, there was a line, and you can just tell how everybody's like shifting, like that they are frustrated that there's a line at the post office in December, and all that. And I'm like, oh, those workers probably have to deal with some pretty crabby people this time of year too. So I was just like, chill out, it's gonna be okay. So I do understand if this time of year is just kind of like the stress levels are just a little bit higher, and we'll all get through it together, right? Luckily, my mom was talking to the postal lady and not me, so I'm sure she was very kind to her. But again, it's so good to see you today. I enjoy sometimes the live interaction where we can visit, I can see your questions. And so I have a few ideas about homeless clutter that I want to share with you and how, like, truly how we can eradicate it, how I've been able to eradicate it from my house. You know my story. I'm a messy person through and through. Those messy habits can still creep back in when we're really busy. But this idea of finding a home for every piece of homeless clutter in our home, everything in our house has a home, and it hasn't been by necessarily by traditional organizing methods. It changes everything. It's been life changing, and I feel a lot better about myself too. So I'm excited to share some of that with you today, and then I definitely want to leave some time for questions, and I'll tell you about our super special project that we've been working on too, and why I might need a $2 stamp. Okay, so like I said, we're going to talk about how to eradicate homeless clutter once and for all. I truly believe that I've done it, you can do it too. We just have to employ a few tactics. And so I feel like my approach to homeless clutter has been shaped by a few different people. So I definitely want to give them credit. So I would say first, Cass has taught me that you should store things where you use them. And honestly, I think when we look at a lot of these ideas individually, it's kind of like, well, duh, obviously, like, why wouldn't you just do that? But it was remarkable when I started looking around my house how often where I was storing stuff, like where I decided to put the silverware, was more similar to where it was in my house growing up or something I had learned from like growing up or another season of life than actually where it makes most sense. And what I really like what Cass talks about is that if you like when your house is kind of messy, if you look at all of the stuff that is out that this is the stuff that you're always using. And so then we use that to collect data. So even in this picture, you can see at the end of the island is the toaster. So we have an outlet that you can't see at the end of the island. And so this is always 100% of the time where the toaster gets used. And so when I was trying to find a place, where should we put it? Because previously it was in the pantry cabinet, which is way across the kitchen. Our kitchen's not actually that big, right? So it's not like anyone was like walking too far, but it was located across the kitchen. So when I was trying to kind of reorganize my kitchen and relocate things, I was like, oh, it actually should go in the cabinet either next to the fridge, but that had my stand mixer in it, and that was one of the only places my stand mixer would fit, or the next closest cabinet would be the one to the left of the dishwasher. But now here's the problem. When I went to put it in there, there was other stuff in that cabinet. So then I had to be really realistic about, am I actually using the stuff in this cabinet? And I realized that there was an Instant Pot in there. We actually have two Instant Pots. And the smaller Instant Pot was in there, and we hadn't been using it. We'd only been using our bigger Instant Pot. I'm not proposing you have two Instant Pots. We had just grown some really big chickens and they didn't fit in the little one. But I realized we were only using the big Instant Pot. So I removed the small Instant Pot out of there, and then I was able to put the toaster in there. And I used Cass's other tip to put it in a little bin from the dollar store. So then when you put it in and out, there's not crumbs getting everywhere. And so again, this seems like it's like duh, obviously, but it's amazing how many things in my house were not where the closest to where I would use them, or when I really started looking at my kitchen this way or other places, how I was letting other things that I don't use very frequently take up the most valuable real estate. And so that has been really helpful whenever I notice things that are consistently getting left out. So again, this homeless clutter, these things that just float around on our flat surfaces, that consistently, if I would put these things where they would be nearest to where they get used, not only was I more likely to put it away, but my family actually started putting stuff away as well. And so that has been a game changer. Kitchen Tetris. Yeah, I love that. I need to organize my cabinets soon. And here's the other thing. We joke, like in my mentorship group, like December is maintain, don't gain month, right? In many regards, all the regards, right? And so I'm not necessarily even proposing that we're like doing tons of decluttering right now or reorganizing, but I think these are helpful tactics as we head into the new year for sure. All right, the next thing comes from Dana. And of course, like if you all know Dana, what's her number one question? If you hold something up that does not have a home, or the home is just wonky or doesn't work well, you ask yourself, where would I look for this item first? And so she says, like, if I needed this item, where would I look for it first? And I would say one of the examples of this was actually this drawer next to the fridge. And I had decided like a year and a half ago that I really wanted to start drinking more tea. And so I decided to get a cool tea organizer, and then I put all kinds of tea in this drawer. The problem was we actually drank a lot more coffee than we do tea. And there was not another good spot in this area where our coffee pot was, for the tea. And so when Dana would say, like, where would I look for coffee first? Well, normally I would just look at it's kind of like when you go, if you think like you go to an Airbnb, and you're like, okay, it's morning time. I want to make coffee. Where would I look for coffee first? Like normally I would think you would either look closest to the coffee maker or in the pantry. And again, our pantry is like on the other side of the kitchen. So as I was thinking, like, where would I look for this first? It should be in the drawer closest to the coffee maker. And so I don't know, earlier this year, I like pulled all the tea out. I'm like, whatever. If I need tea, I just put it down in a lower cabinet. But like the stuff we use every single day should get the prime real estate. So this is where I would look for coffee. I don't need it cluttered up by tea that I'm not drinking, like fantasy self me. And I moved it out, and it's been so awesome. Like it functions so much better. And now we don't have coffee in random places throughout our kitchen like it was before. And so that has been awesome. Yeah, I love this question too, Mary Ellen. I wish I had more cabinets. Um, There are only 2 wall cabinets in the whole kitchen, just not enough space. I hear you on this because, our kitchen might be a little bit bigger than yours, but there is something magical to decluttering it down to the space that you have. And most of us, if we will continue to move out the stuff that we're not using, it is actually quite remarkable how much more space we can free up, even if we have teeny tiny kitchens. Like our kitchen is actually pretty small by American standards. I know some of our European friends are like, "Oh, girlfriend, like it's not that small, right?" By American kitchen standards, because we didn't put all of our upper cabinets back up either after we remodeled. Um, and it when I set up my kitchen to serve me in this season of life and to only have stuff in there that we're using right now and that we use all the time, we actually have plenty, we have more than enough space. Now, this also means that I store some things outside of the kitchen, like extra baking stuff that Adeline likes to use. Even our crock pot isn't stored in the kitchen because there's just not a good spot for it. And that's not always the most convenient. But I do believe if you will respect the space that you have, your kitchen is going to feel so much better. All right. So let's move on to what I learned from Marie Kondo. I really like Marie's tactics. I know she gets a hard time a lot for like sparking joy and all of that. Like Dana from A Slob Comes Clean, she'll say, "Well, everything sparks joy. I would keep everything," And so that question does not always work for all of us. But there is something that Marie Kondo has promoted that I think is a great idea. So she says to first discard or declutter, then organize by category. And she likes to promote that for any category of things, any type of thing that you have in your home, you only store it in one spot. So, your scissors in your house are all in one spot, your pens, all of your so something that made a big difference for me was I decided to make a bin with all of our materials, so like command hooks and that kind of stuff. And so now, kind of going back to Dana's question of where would I look for it first, because I know that I have all of our command hooks and fasteners and monkey hooks and all the different things I might use to hang something in our house, because I know they're all in that bin, I can very easily tell if I have the right thing that I need for the job. And so I can go to there and be like, okay, I want to make a hook for, I just recently, I put a little hook inside of our kitchen sink for our little brush, our scrubbing brush for dishes. It just annoyed me that I was always laying in the bottom of the sink. And so I'm like, I'm just going to command hook, I'm going to hang it on there so it's not getting gross in the bottom of the sink. And so I went to that container and I looked at the different command hooks that we had. I found one that worked and I used it. Now, if I had gone to that container and I'm like, oh, darn it, we don't really have any hooks that are the right size. Again, I wouldn't have to go other places in the house to look. I'm like, oh, maybe in the junk drawer, there's one. Maybe in the garage, there's one. Maybe in the basement, there's one. No, I just knew if we were going to have some kind of fastening thing, it would be in that bin. Now, again, this was not me in the past. This is new Dawn, right? This is minimalist Dawn, because I do think this is such a good idea that everything gets stored together of a same category. And I have decreased the inventory in our house to a point where this is very reasonable. So again, we discard or we declutter first the things that we're not using so that then it is very easy to categorize and organize the things that we need and to have it when we need it. Another thing, like in our basement, we have a bin, one of those Target bins that I show all the time with all of our light bulbs in it. So again, if like in our kitchen, we have what are they called? Like the Edison bulbs, and one of them burnt out. And I'm like, oh, I don't actually know if we have more of those or not. So what did we do? I told Adeline, I'm like, go down to the light bulb bin. If we have one, it will be in there. And sure enough, we had one. That's what was great. In the past, that would have been somewhere in the basement. Oh, maybe check this shelf. Maybe it's over there, that kind of thing. And I wouldn't have known for sure if we actually had one or not. But by keeping everything of a category in one space, then it's much easier to manage our inventory and to know what it is that we have. All right. And then this one I came up with on my own. I don't think it's anything that novel, but even kind of going back to the small kitchen comment, I really aim in our whole entire house to only have drawers and cabinets and closets and any kind of storage space only about half to maybe two-thirds full. And so, I think many of us, I don't know, grew up or we just thought like drawers and cabinets should be full, especially if you're in a small house. Everything's just full. It's just how it is because you have limited storage and so it all just gets crammed in there and it is what it is. Well, what's the problem with that? Well, I called this a stuffed drawer theory that if a drawer is even like a over, I don't know, three quarters full, it's more difficult to put stuff away. And I had noticed this with like a dresser that we had, that when the drawers were pretty full, the clean laundry would just get stacked on top of the dresser instead of getting it put away. And so now I really aim to have all of our drawers and cabinets only about half to two-thirds full because it's easier to put stuff away. It's more likely that your family members will put stuff away, and it's easier to see what you have. So you're not losing stuff, you're not rebuying stuff. It's very easy to see the inventory that you have. And actually, now that I think about it, I think I know like the whole stuffed drawer theory where this came from. So my sister, she's a pastor, and she was telling me that she had learned that churches, when they're trying to decide if they need to add another service or add on, like if it's getting too full. I don't remember the exact ratio, but it was something like once all of the seats in a church are two-thirds full, that people will stop inviting friends or family or neighbors or new people. And so in a setting like that, you always want to make sure there's a certain ratio of empty chairs or seats or pews or whatever available. Otherwise your congregation is going to stop growing. And so that was always very fascinating to me. And I'm like, oh, I think that's the same thing with our drawers. Like once they get to a certain threshold, they're like, oh, it's just easier to leave it out than to put it away. And it's fine. I'm going to use it again tomorrow. Like who cares? Or I'll come back later and put it all away. But when I really think you'll find too that if your cabinets and your drawers and your closets are only about half full, I think half full is the sweet spot for us. It's just very easy. It's easy to unload the dishwasher. It's easy to put laundry away. It's easier for your family to put that kind of stuff away. And so this has made a big difference. And again, I think in hindsight, it's kind of like, well, duh. But it's amazing how many full drawers and cabinets that I had in my house, right? All right. Um, let's see. Okay. So those are four of my main tactics for um, homeless clutter, or this clutter that just floats around all of the time. And so again, we can kind of use them all together. But again, if you are noticing these just kind of things that are always out on the counter, and some of the stuff we don't always think maybe it's deserving of a home because maybe there's like papers or sports schedules, or I'm trying to think of what other stuff kind of floats on cabinets, catalogs. And you're like, well, I don't, the place I would use it most is this drawer right here, this spot on the wall. I would put something to hang there, but I don't know. Do I really want to create a spot for it there? Maybe, this is in the kitchen, but this is like an office thing, or this is in the bathroom, but should I keep my pills there? I don't know, but the idea is that we are setting up our house to serve us. So we don't want to we want to set up our house to serve us in our current season of life. And I'm really passionate about this for the kitchen, that no matter what season of life we're in right now, our kitchen should serve us. It should work for us, not against us. It should be very easy to see the things we need and use every day. It should be very easy to put stuff away. And when we have that lens that we're looking at our house, so again, it's not just the kitchen. We can apply this to all areas of our house, that our house should serve us, that stuff is meant to make our life easier, not harder. Our wardrobe, it should be very easy to get dressed in the morning. I should open the closet and just see options for today. When we start shifting this lens that like, I don't want to manage stuff that's not adding to my life. I don't have time for that. Like, who of us has time for that right now? And I think Christmas is always such a rude reminder of how fast time goes, because we're all like, oh, it's Christmas again. Oh, it's less than 2 weeks away. I'm sorry, how did we get here? It was just Halloween. It was just back to school. And so we have to be so sober minded about how fast time goes. And even just yesterday, I don't know, my friend Karen from our mentorship group emailed and she said, Dawn, I need permission to let go of my craft supplies. She's like, my husband said I can get rid of them. And she's more towards retirement age. And she said, I've noticed when I have extra time, over the last 2 to 3 years, I'm not choosing to do those crafts. And so I said, Karen, you completely have permission to let that go. You could list it on Marketplace, try and make a few dollars. That's always helpful. Or you could donate it to a retirement center, a day center, somewhere where others could make use of it. And how good would that feel to know that this stuff is getting used? But we simply don't have time for this stuff anymore. And I mean, I've talked about it kind of a lot lately, but I think minimalism is highly underrated. I don't ever like to offend anybody and say, "Oh, everybody needs to be a minimalist." But honestly, now I'm 41 now, and I'm like, "Oh, time just goes so fast." And I know those of you who are further, you're like, "Oh, honey, hang on, like it just goes faster." We don't have time. We simply do not have time for this stuff. So why wouldn't I choose a more minimalist path where I'm just keeping the stuff in my house that adds value and the things that I use every day and that I enjoy maintaining? If there's craft supplies or hobby things or things from a different season that I'm not using anymore, that's okay. I'm going to let that stuff go so I don't have to manage it. And actually, I wanted to share this question too from Anne in our group. I just thought it was so good. And she said, when you talk about not having the bandwidth to deal with something, are you referring to more than your mental capacity? I'm usually pretty determined to achieve what I set my mind to, but I'm not getting as much done as I want to, and not as quickly as I want to, mainly because of low energy and fatigue. Indecision is also playing a part, but it's my chronic fatigue and low energy that's my biggest issue. So now I'm wondering, when it comes to bandwidth, does it include weighing up our mental, physical, and emotional capacity? Exactly. And you hit it exactly on the head. When I think of bandwidth, I do think of it as my emotional capacity right now, my physical, my time limitations. It kind of all plays together. And I heard this brilliant quote by Esther Perel. If you're familiar, she's a really well-known like a relationship expert. And recently I heard her say this: it's not about balance, it's distribution of resources. And I just thought this was so good. It's not about balance, it's about distribution of resources. And so, how I think this ties into Anne's question is, Anne, you're acknowledging that your resources of time and energy are limited right now. So you have less than ideal. You imagine you have this certain amount of energy and physical energy, but it's actually less than that. And so when you look at your allotment of physical energy, you especially don't have time for clutter and things that take up your precious bandwidth, right? Because the less we have of something, the more precious it is, and it's the more we have to be responsible with it. And so that's where we can say you have permission to let go of things that you're not using, that were from a different season in life, that you just don't imagine that you're going to have the capacity to use in the future. And you need a very streamlined home. So again, when we're looking at distribution of resources, most of us, like most of us, don't have extra resources to waste on managing clutter and to taking care of stupid stuff in our house. Like, why? Why would we distribute our resources, our precious resources, to that when we could be doing such beneficial things with it? Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah, for a season, we'll probably have to dedicate some more resources to getting our house decluttered. So there might be a season where we are allocating more resources to decluttering, knowing that a decluttered house takes 40% less time to manage, right? So you can just cut out 40% of time on household tasks and cleaning and organizing and maintaining and looking for things. So we allot more resources in the beginning, and then we trust that it's going to pay off in the end. But again, for anyone who is finding themselves in a similar season as Anne, whether it's from things like chronic fatigue or other illnesses, or small children, working full time, taking care of loved ones, going back to school, anything like that pulls at us, then permission to highly streamline your house, make it work for you in this coming year. And I'm not selling anything today. So we have the Take Your House Back course. It is on special right now, $94 through the beginning of January. It is a great thing to ask for. We have our mentorship group, which is super helpful. So I have resources, right? We have YouTube videos, we have all the things, but just know that if again you got to another Christmas and you're like, it's the end of another year and I did not get my house to the point that I wanted, then that's okay. Like, it is what it is. You're busy. You've had a lot of stuff, coming at you. You haven't been able to allocate resources to decluttering like you had hoped. There's nothing wrong with you. We can help you in the new year. I would be honored to help you, but you know what's best for you and what you're going to need. But let's just all be so realistic about our distribution of resources and where we want to be spending our precious time and energy. I love this comment. I have 4 kiddos at home and decluttering our space has been life-changing. Now I am desperately wanting to declutter our social calendars. Hockey mom duties are exhausting. LOL. Yeah. Yes. And I do love how it does spill over to that. And so that's awesome. I love that. No, Dawn does not look that old. If anyone thinks that clutter bugs them, wait until you get older. And for a moment that oh, shoot, it's getting cut off. Shoot, I wanted to read the rest of that. I guess I like that. Uh, let's see. Yeah. And always hard for me to know where to start. So many areas need attention. Cass, excuse me, Cass says the bedroom because that's what you see first thing when you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night. And I think that's a great place. Also, I think the kitchen, I know kitchens can be a little bit intimidating, but we need it to work for us and not against us. So I think you feel it right away when you get your kitchen decluttered. Oh yeah. Wait till your husband passes away and you have to figure out what to do with it. Yeah, that's so hard. I'm so sorry, Karen. That's a lot. Yeah, season of life is such an important concept to understand when minimalizing. It's true, and it's one of those things that like we're never we're never taught that, and so it's okay. Oh, there must be a question. Hey, mom, my mom's in the comments. I've not told my mom how wonderful she is today. Isn't my mom the coolest? If y'all want to leave a comment, her name is Luann, capital L, capital A, and I just think she is the coolest. So the sauce that I talk about for meatballs is the mandarin sauce from Target. It's just the Good and Gather brand. So thanks for popping on, mom, and helping out with that as well. Yeah. Oh, here's a good question. Just moved, don't know what to keep versus toss. You are in such a cool position right now because you can literally just pull out stuff as you need it and only populate your spaces with the stuff that you're actually using and needing. And so I would be very strategic about what you're bringing in the house and what you're leaving in boxes in the garage or an extra bedroom or the basement or somewhere else. And I would only pull out stuff as you need it and not unpack everything right away. Let's see. Yeah, I feel like I go in circles. While one area is being worked on, the others are getting worse. That's a pretty common phenomenon, and that's where I do think some of our programs like Take Your House Back or our mentorship group can be helpful if you need more guidance, more accountability, a little more structure to it, or if you just need to be in community with more like-minded people. But also writing out your decluttering goals for the year and making a game plan can be really helpful. I talked a little while back about using garbage day for decluttering and throwing stuff away. And it's amazing how just like that point, having something each week that we're like our mind is fixed on like, oh, okay, that day I want to have, a bag of garbage, but then I also want to have a box of donations that day too, can be really helpful to keep us on task with decluttering because we know the decluttering is going to make everything else that we've been talking about today so much easier. Yeah, Patricia, I think many can resonate with this. Mentally stretched thin. Just getting the kids to help with chores is a nightmare. How do you manage to get your kids to help and be happy not getting a lot for Christmas? This is a little bit of a process. So this probably won't change like overnight. But a couple things here. I do feel like as we highly simplified our house, it was much easier to involve the kids because now it wasn't such an overwhelming task to pick up and to manage all the inventory in our house. So, number one, keep working on decluttering. Number two, Dana talks about it all the time, the 5-minute pickup. And so we set the timer. And in the beginning, you're just the referee, the coach. You're directing people, telling them where to go, but everybody works for 5 minutes to tidy up. The first few times, not a lot gets done at all. But we're developing this habit. And Dana says it's very important that when it goes off, we're done. You don't tell your kids, like, oh, well, we got to do more and you didn't finish this. It's like, nope, we're training them that when I say 5 minutes, I mean 5 minutes. And Dana will even say sometimes she asks her family for 10, right? But 5 minutes is 5 minutes. And over time, what you're going to find is that they realize it's easier just to cooperate with the 5 minutes than to push back about it and grumble. Like that's where we're at with our kids. I'm like 5 minutes. Like I'm setting the timer. We're all working. And like in our house now, they each have designated areas, but I still have to oversee and make sure it's way better than it was in the beginning. So you can decide like if you want to have each kid like have a set area they go to, or if you all just work in one area. When they were younger, we would all work in one area at a time. And then as far as getting less for Christmas, what makes a big difference is that if there was less gifts, we would have more tradition, more fun stuff. Like even I don't know if you saw the video with Diane and I going to Home Goods. We got these like marshmallow hot chocolate toppers, and so like I was like planning out, Tom and I were planning out like Christmas Eve morning and Christmas morning. I'm like, okay, we're going to have Christmas Eve morning. We'll have hot chocolate. We'll do the toppers, like, and that'll be fun. So it's finding other things to make it special, a new game that you're going to play, going out looking at Christmas lights, food things you're going to do, treats. So bringing in some of that, maybe a craft project if you have younger kids to make it still feel special, even if there's less gifts, but it just takes time. It just takes a few years for them to adjust to the amount of gifts that there are now. And that is totally okay. Like that's totally fine. Let's see. You're so kind, Lynette. Do you do online consultation? No, I don't. The best way to have access to me outside of YouTube is in our mentorship group and in the Take Your House Back course. The mentorship group, I'm in there every day, Monday through Friday, and then a lot of Saturdays too when we do lives. So we do lives twice a month. I do daily videos. You have access to me via email if you're in the group. And it's a really supportive community where you can ask questions and get support from other like-minded people, because not everyone in our context always understands why it is we're getting rid of all of our stuff, right? So it's also just a really great like support network as well. Let's see. Do you have a chore video? Your kids are so independent, great at household stuff. I'm so glad you think so. Would love to know how you trained them. It was just consistency. When they were little, I realized that I would call it like party cleaning, where we all just had to do it together and work together. And now that they're a little bit older, because we've been doing it consistently, it's very clear what's expected. But I can't emphasize enough that having the inventory in our house really low has made it so it's not such a big deal to clean up our house, and everybody's happy. Our kids have enough. They don't have tons of toys and tons of Legos, and they have they don't have a lot of Legos compared to most kids. They have enough. They're happy. Like they're good. We don't miss any of the stuff that we've decluttered. So you keep reducing the inventory in your house, and it's going to make all of this stuff with the kids so much easier. Also, I have never been able to stick with chore charts. That is just not a thing that I do or try to put on myself anymore. But I do leverage the things that are important to them. So for our girls now, they have Gab phones. Their phones are important to them. So I have no problem saying like, oh, shoot, you didn't get the dishwasher loaded. I'm taking your phone until you get it done. And they have other activities they like to go do. So I just leverage the things. I don't have to have power struggles. I'm just like, oh, bummer. Like you don't get to go to youth group tonight. That stinks. I'm sorry. And just doesn't have to be a big deal. So I leverage the things that I know are important to them. And we keep the inventory low and we're consistent with it. And that has made all of the difference. It's nothing fancy. Like, yeah. This is a common question. Thoughts on storage for medicines and vitamins currently kept on top of my hutch, but it looks messy. So I would say this really comes into play. This is where Cass's Clutterbug styles come in, knowing how you're wired. Are you a visual or not visual person? Because some visual people do need to have this stuff out in order to remember it. And so I think the best thing to do if there are things you have to have sitting out is to just have them contained in a nice looking container or basket where you can still see what's inside. But it is quite remarkable how if we put a container around something, or maybe it has to be clear, our brains love boundaries. So if you take like a bunch of stuff sitting out on a flat surface, and it's not contained by anything, your brain's going to read it as 12 items. But if it's all in one, I don't have any container, one nice neat basket, your brain reads it as one thing. And so as our brains are constantly scanning our environments and looking at things, the less things it has to scan and analyze, the better. So that would be my best recommendation if it has to stay out. If you can tuck it away and not forget about it, then I mean that would be ideal, but I'm guessing it's out for a reason. What is a gab phone? So, gab phones only allow you to text and call, and then there's some other apps you can enable. They have a newer version out now that allows a little bit more, but they can't go on the internet. They don't do social media on it. I've said this before, like I'm a very lazy parent when it comes to monitoring things, and so for technology, I have we didn't have like a TV connected to Netflix or any of that stuff. So we just had a DVD player with some CD cases of DVDs, and I knew all the DVDs were safe. So I didn't have to monitor the TV. We never had an iPad that the kids could go on. The computer was in a central location. They don't have regular phones. They just have these phones that don't allow them to do a whole lot, but they can still text and it's fine. And actually a lot of their friends have them now. So I'm grateful for that. It's becoming much more well known. I'm trying to think what else because I'm just not good at it. I don't know. So we don't have Wi-Fi in our house, so no one can connect to a device somewhere else. They have to be at the computer at the counter. And so those are like kind of built-in things that I've put in place so that I don't have to manage screen time and whether or not they're getting into things they don't, because we all know that our kids don't have to look for the stuff. The stuff is looking for them. And so it's just really important that now more than ever that we're careful with all of it. And I'm not getting down on any parent because ugh, like there's just so much to all of this and so many things all the time. And so that's what we do. That is just descriptive, not prescriptive. All right. Yes. Do you still have a container on top of the fridge for Tom to pop all his bits and pieces out of sight? Yes, ma'am, I do. It works awesome. It still works great. And yeah, that has worked really well. Okay. Let's see. I love this. I asked my 6-year-old what his favorite present was from last Christmas, and he said it was getting a box of his favorite mac and cheese, and that I took the time to cook it with him. Amanda, I love that. I also love our inventors boxes. Oh, Jackie, I hope you're taking notes of everything we need to link to and now. Um, our inventors boxes. So basically, you just take bits of cardboard, toilet paper rolls, masking tape, just random stuff, zip ties, all that kind of stuff, and put in a box. And that is still, our kids still play with that kind of stuff. And it's so fun to just see them being creative and engrossed in play. And again, does not have to cost a lot of money to put it together. Okay, I do want to show you real quick. So we did do a short run print of our Easy Awesome Bundt Cake book. So just to remind you all, it was almost 2 years ago. It was March of 2022 that we went on a mission trip down to Mexico. And oh, shoot, I'm really going to try not to cry. We met Dorothy. She helps rescue women out of really crappy situations, just really horrific things, and their kids too. And not only does she take them in and give them a place to live, she teaches them skills so that they can support themselves and their families. And it is so cool. They're in the process of building a restaurant while we were down there, again, so the women can work at it and make money and support themselves. Well, Dorothy had made the comment that a big budget item for them is purchasing water. They didn't have their own well at the facility. So with your support last year, we were able to sell enough of the $5 digital versions of our Easy Awesome Bundt Cake book, not only to dig the well and fund the full well, but also to help them to further advance their restaurant as well. So the well is in place. It has been serving the property this year. They have not had to purchase any water, and they're still working on the infrastructure to the rest of the building. And it was just really cool. What Dorothy said was that what we take for granted, like showering every day, she's like, you don't understand like what a morale booster that is to have running water. And for these women that are often working out also in berry farms that are in the area or different farms, to be able to come home and take a shower. Otherwise they were only able to take a bucket shower 1 to 2 times a week, to bathe their kids, they also had land that they had wanted to have gardens and grow fruit trees on, but they didn't have the water for it. And so isn't it just like something so small that we take for granted, that we were all like, you all did this, right? Able to do for them and bless them with. And so many asked, like, could you print the Easy Awesome Bundt Cake book? So here's what we did. I'm going to tell you the price and you're going to be like, that's ridiculously expensive, right? But I'll tell you why. Okay, so we only printed a couple hundred physical because I am also signing them. Like, we are fulfilling them ourselves. I'm signing them. I'm addressing it to you. And then Adeline is mailing them. She's in charge of the mailing. And that's why my mom's involved too. Like, she was at the post office today getting the $2 stamps because it's $4.67 to send these via media mail. We're doing media mail, so it's the cheapest, right? So we have a handful of these spiral bound print. It has like a cardstock cover, glossy pages with all of our recipes. We've also added 5 more recipes. And then it has like a nice plastic background, gold spiral. So we have a handful of these that we can still send out and get to you before Christmas. And so for that, we're asking for a donation of $100. And if you're like, I love you, but that's ridiculous, right? We're also taking pre-orders now. So if you would like to order one for $50, again, all the proceeds are going to Dorothy. So this is a fundraiser for her. That's why these prices are what they are. I'm not making money off it. This is all so we can continue to support Dorothy and the work that she's doing. So if you want to pre-order one, and again, I'll still sign it and we'll mail it to you. Adeline will mail it to you. That is $50 because we do have $15 into the printing and shipping and all of that. It was probably $17, but it's fine. But the rest of every single dollar will go to Dorothy. And so I have links in the description here. Again, if you want to get it before Christmas, it should. We can't guarantee anything with mailing things, but it should absolutely. It'll go out today or tomorrow. Then you can do the $100 link donation. But if you would prefer to pay $50 for it and get it in the beginning of January, then we also have a link for that. Or if you're like, still ridiculous, we still have the digital version for $5 that you can buy. And there's a link for that too. And every single cent of the $5 goes straight to Dorothy as well. And then I just added some videos to go with this about the best tips for baking your bundt cakes and frosting, all kinds of different frosting techniques. Including, I don't know if you can see this. I also teach in there how to replicate exactly like the Nothing Bundt Cake. If you're familiar with the bakery, how to replicate that frosting as well. So anyway, so you also get some free video tutorials as well. I try to give you as much value as possible whenever I sell you anything. So those links are down below. We will change the descriptions and the pinned comment as soon as if they sell out. You're not able to get the spiral bound before Christmas anymore. But the links are down there, and I just appreciate your support so much. Oh shoot. It's been really fun to hear from Dorothy and those who have been down there to say what a huge difference this has made for them. But I know there's so many big things going on in the world, and often it feels like, well, what can I do? What can I do? You can buy a $5 bundt cake book, whether you bake bundt cakes or not. And it's a huge support to them. Isn't it amazing? Like, crowdfunding never ceases to amaze me because it's everybody doing a little bit and what massive changes and differences that can make. And so anyways, I'm so grateful for your support. Dorothy is so grateful for your support. We actually get the opportunity to go back down again this coming March, and I can't wait. Of course, I'll video it. I'll share it with you. It'll be super fun to get to see her Again, because the last time I was there, she doesn't know me from Adam. Like I didn't even talk one-on-one with her. I was just so moved by the work that she was 85 at the time, so she's older than that now. I mean, the work that she's doing, and so for us to be able to, again, most of us aren't able to go down to Mexico and rescue women right now, but if we can stand behind those that are, like, that just seems super cool. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about that now. Oh man. I would like to answer a few more questions, and then we'll put links for the Take Your House Back course and my mentorship group. If you're interested in just learning more and seeing if that might be a good fit for you, we would love to have you in there. I mean, those become my closest friends for sure. And I'm so grateful for that group as well. But if it's not in the budget, don't stretch it. Like I'll just be here on YouTube preaching it, just the same as I have all the other years too. So we're going to be here to support you one way or another. Okay. If you have a question, if I missed it, feel free to, if you put a question mark in front of it, it's a little bit easier for me to see it, but you can repost it. Don't worry. That doesn't bother me at all. Rachel says, do you find that the technology boundaries you've put in place for your kids also help you and Tom with time on your phones, computers? 1000%. Something that stood out to me, oh God, I just don't want to cry through this whole thing. So, we moved, if you followed us for a while, we actually moved the shed behind our house because it was blocking the sunrise. And it just made me so sad that I could tell that beyond this ugly gray building were these incredible sunrises that I was not fully getting to appreciate every morning. And so since that has been moved, I stand there almost every morning and admire the sunrise. I just it's just a great way to start my day. And what happened then was if I wouldn't be there and I wouldn't see like the sunrise, or if the sun was setting, which you can see from the other side of our house, and we're so fortunate, the kids would actually, I would hear them saying like, "Oh wow, look at the sunrise," or "Oh wow, look at the sunset." And it occurred to me that I was like, well, I never told them to appreciate the sunrise or the sunset. It was just something that I just have had a love for and that I do, and now they're doing it too. Or I don't even preach to my kid. I won't get too spiritual on this, but like I don't preach to my kids about daily quiet times or reading their Bible every day or whatnot. But it's amazing to me how often I go into one of their bedrooms and they're doing that, right? And so it is just impressed on me like how much our kids are observing what we are doing. And I don't want them to see me with a phone in my face all the time. I know there are seasons where we just need to check out sometimes, and I fully understand that. But yes, it has 1000% helped us with our boundaries around technology, and made it so that it's not really a struggle anymore. Like our house is just kind of a tech-free-ish zone, and that has been such a gift that I'd never even expected. I just thought like, well, okay, this is what I got to do because I'm lazy and whatever. But yeah, it has been it's been a blessing for Tom and I too, for sure. Okay. Well, let's do a fun question. My goodness. Let's see. Where did you get your laundry baskets? Okay, so they're just from Target. We can link to them. They're just their very common baskets that they have right now. And what I really like, they're smaller than a regular laundry basket because we wouldn't have room for that in our laundry room. But I love that they are like the size of one load of laundry, and the visual of like how many loads of laundry are there. It has worked so well. And I know other women too that have implemented that in their house and they love it too. So we can link to the baskets. We can link to my laundry system video, but just having these dedicated baskets for loads of laundry and not having hampers. Oh, I hate hampers so much. Has been really awesome. Yes, we will ship the bundt cake books internationally as well. Yes, absolutely. Does Dorothy's house need other things? They're actually really fortunate. They do get a lot of donations of like toys and physical items, and that kind of thing. And so money is the most helpful right now. I should also mention that you will not get a tax receipt if you donate through the links I have there. If you do need a tax receipt, no worries. Email support at theminimalmom.com, and she'll help you out with that to get you the right link. Where did you get the painting behind you? This was just from TJ Maxx Home Goods earlier this year, and it makes my heart so happy. It's like all the colors that I love, and it's flowers, and when I saw it, I was just like, this is perfect. Like the scale was right. I don't know. Isn't it fun when you find like just the right thing? It's so fun. I did wait. I looked for quite a while though too. I didn't settle before I found it. So I passed over some other things. Do you recommend the book form or the audio form book of Have a New Teenager by Friday? That was such a long time ago that I read that book that I'm not even familiar with the Audible version. So I don't know. I think whatever would make it more likely for you to be able to consume it. I do like that book, Have a New Teenager by Friday, Have a New Kid by Friday. It really just talks about leveraging consequences and the things that are important to kids. I don't know if it's just my personality style or what, but that book has really resonated with me and been really helpful. I've said this before, like at the beginning of our school year this year, I was like, okay, I am entering into no power struggles. I would rather walk away from something going on than get in a power struggle with a child right now. And so having leverages, it has made it so I hardly have any power struggles at all. And it's very easy to navigate those now. I mean, my kids are wonderful and they're so cool. And they're still kids and they still give me a hard time. And sometimes I just look at them and I'm just like, I'm a big fan of like do-overs. I'll be like, I don't know, should we try that again? Like, I don't know who you think you're talking to right now, but that's not going to work with me, right? And I'm like, oh, let's do a do-over, Um, but otherwise, I'll be like, oh, okay. I mean, I was just told that someone was not going to piano lessons, and I'm like, oh, okay. So you're also choosing not to go to youth group on Wednesday night, And she was like, yeah, and I'm like, okay. I knew it wasn't, and wouldn't you know, they went to piano lessons, right? And then they get to a youth group, so win-win. So, and if their piano teacher is listening, I mean, she's wonderful too, but man, these teenagers and whatnot. Ugh. Do you have any fun trips planned for 2024? Those are still in the works. So we don't know for sure. We've been looking at going to Arizona this winter, and we'd love to go to Arkansas side-by-siding again. But right now, the only thing for sure on the calendar is the missions trip in February, which will be really cool. Let's see. Do you follow any special eating plans? I dabble with intermittent fasting and try to do low carb, but no, nothing official. And I don't know. Intermittent fasting isn't always miraculous for me as it is for other influencers that I see. So I'm like, it's fine. We're all different. And that takes bandwidth too, right? Eating healthy and simplifying our house helps a lot, though. What are some ways to push through the messy middle of decluttering where progress is stalled? Well, I really don't want this to sound like a commercial. The all day declutters with Take Your House Back are magical. We get so much done. I would think in like 4 hours of an all day declutter, you can get twice as much done as you might otherwise on your own, because you're getting permission, you're getting guidance, you're around, like you get the group energy, the accountability. So it might be helpful to join in some of the events that we do or the things that we do. But otherwise, I would just keep this type of information in front of you. Why am I doing this? What's so important? What's at stake? And just lots of permission to let things go. I don't feel like that's a very good answer. I'm sorry, Maggie. I wish I had a better answer for you. Keep the end goal in sight, right? Let's see. Do you still have dishes? Cookware simplified? Oh yeah. Yes. I am so sold out on this. It was probably a year and a half ago that I went all in on my kitchen, and I'm like, anything that I am not using in this current season is gone. You are dead to me, because like the kids use the kitchen, we use the kitchen. It's just a busy season. And so yes, it's still highly simplified. I love it. It's the best. So let's see. Is there an update on the money raised? I remember a total last year. My 13-year-old niece was so excited to know her gift of the book because it went to serve others. That's so cool. My best estimation, it's been a little tricky to track because some has gone in, like went through Dorothy's website for tax reasons, which I totally understand. And then a lot of it's been collected through us. I want to say around $120,000, but that's my best estimation right now. It could be more. So you guys are the coolest. Thank you. How do I work and get beyond 3 tasks? Today, wipe bathroom, put dishes away, wash towels, meal plan, shop and put away, cook dinner, choir practice. Where do I fit in decluttering? I can't keep up. I know. Like we're adding decluttering onto an already full schedule, right? This is where, like in our mentorship group, we always say 5 minutes matters. And it's picking one small area at a time to declutter. We're not looking at the full linen closet. We're picking one shelf. We're not looking at all the drawers in the kitchen. We're picking one drawer, one category of things. I'm just going to make a quick pass through the coffee mugs. I'm going to make a quick pass through our kids' socks. And we're, even as we're cleaning or tidying up at the end of the day, I am always scanning for stuff to move out. And so we can declutter as we're cleaning and just doing the regular household maintenance stuff. I mean, even as you're cooking dinner tonight, you can look through the utensil drawer and just be like, oh, wow, there's actually 12 things in here that I have not used in the past year. What if I let those things go? And so I know it is not as glamorous to do it 5 and 15 minutes at a time, but it can make a huge difference. We think I need to get a sitter and spend my whole weekend. And again, I love the all day declutters if you're able to join us. And there is something magical about doing a little bit every single day. The short amount of times actually make us more productive than when we have big chunks of time often. Ooh, I like this. How do you deal with resentment towards clutter? I didn't have any control over it to begin with, and I'm finding myself just reminded of being hurt and angry when I try. Oh, that's a lot. So, ugh, our stuff can hold a lot of emotions, right? And I mean, I would say so. I did a video about toxic clutter with Dr. John Deloney last year about this time, last November. And he was just like, move that stuff out. If there is anything in your house that when you look at it, you feel gross, ugh, I don't like that. I don't like that season. I don't like what that represents. You have permission to move it out. So if you have resentment towards clutter, let it go. Like let it unless you like absolutely need it, you have permission to let that stuff go and have a fresh start with it. And you might need to enlist some help. He also says he doesn't have the quote, but he's referenced the quote that grief needs a witness. And I think this has to do with some of these hurts and the resentment too, that sometimes we need to be able to talk it out with people as we're decluttering and say, wow, this reminds me of this. This season sucked. This was really hard. I can't believe this person did this. And to be able to talk it out as we're doing it too. But I'm not a therapist. This is just what I've heard from others, like in our groups and stuff. So, but I'm sorry. Yeah, there can be a lot of emotions wrapped up. And for anyone that's feeling those emotions, maybe around like sentimental stuff or that, we do tend to like to leave that stuff towards later on once we've strengthened our decluttering muscle. So don't feel like you have to tackle that stuff right away. But if you're kind of to that point now where you're like ready to let it go, let it go. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How do you deal with a family member that is not on board to clear out? So I think it's just helpful. Like Joshua Becker had said this one time when I asked him, he said, let's find common ground. Like, can we agree that I do most of the cooking and I would like to simplify the kitchen? So that's kind of my domain. And so I can take that control in that area. Could we agree that it would be nice to park in the garage this winter or whatnot? And, really just focusing on your areas and what you're able to control. And then over time, asking them, can I help you organize? Could I help you with this small area? As they see what you're doing isn't a fad and you're experiencing benefits, you're enjoying it. And could you help them too? But that sucks. Like, honestly, I think that sucks. Like, we get excited about something, we know the benefits, we know it's going to be better, it's going to make your life easier. And so it's just like, why can't you just come along and be supportive of me? Right? Like, ugh. So I'm really sorry because that can be very frustrating, like very frustrating. What is your favorite coffee to buy for at home? I don't know if I still have two coffee makers sitting on my counter. Um, I don't know if I have a favorite yet. I'm still testing, and the Nespresso makes a great cup of coffee. It is just so stinking expensive. So I don't know yet. If anyone has any favorites, let me know because I don't know. Diana just sent me one that she recommends. So I'm gonna try that out, but I don't know if I could recommend anything yet. Did you realize how helpful your stress cycle message was? Thank you so much. Love your channel. Hugs from New Zealand. I did not. Thank you. That's super cool to hear. Is the Take Your House Back course available to join now? It is. And if you join us now, you'll get to join in on any fun things we do before the end of the year too. So yes, it is. And you can get in right now. Um, and in what order do the effects of having a decluttered house happen? What I mean is, after I declutter, then weight gets under control or finances or more energy. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes. So I felt like as I started decluttering, then we tried to get out of debt a few times. So there was me decluttering without us getting out of debt. It wasn't really till we moved into this house that we went all in. So I would say personally, decluttering led to me having more confidence in myself, feeling like a better mom and wife, led to feeling like I could focus more intention on my goal in the beginning with nutrition was just to eat at home more. And then I felt guilty that we weren't feeding our kids healthier things. So then I wanted to make a little bit healthier things for them and then for me. And then it was probably about 3 years later, that then we went all in on getting out of debt 2 years later, which just was so much easier because we had been decluttering, which had caused me to like detach from all the physical stuff that I would have been buying in the past. So it all goes hand in hand. And then, I mean, decluttering our schedules, decluttering technology, all of that. But I don't know, was your question in what order to the fact that was the order for us, but I think it could be different for everyone. I know so many say that getting out of debt goes hand in hand with decluttering their house. Is there a paragraph or two about Dorothy's house in the digital version? Yes. So, also, I should have mentioned too, I'm sure Jackie is just like, don't forget all these details because she's going to get emails. So, so if you have bought the digital version in the past, we added 5 new recipes and you received an email with an updated link to download that as well as to be able to watch like the videos. And so, in both the printed and digital versions now, there is a page like this. I think it's in the digital, Jackie, isn't it? Or am I mistaken? We can add it in there. Oh, that's not that hard. I don't know. You can always email me and I'll send you the page too, or email support at theminimalmom.com. So we have added this in too. So if you gift it, people know what it's going for and that kind of thing too. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Do you have any homeschool videos and how you work homeschooling into your life? We actually have a free workshop for homeschooling families. And so we'll link to that too. I'm working on some other workshops too, but that one is done and ready to go. I put all of my best advice for homeschooling in there, and it's not a whole lot, just so you know. We're still figuring all that out. How do I justify donating so many of my kids' old clothes that are sentimental? My girls are 5 and 7, and every article has a memory I can't part with. I've decluttered tons, but struggle with this. So, Whitney, I would say, do you have a memory box for each of your girls? Because we need something to weigh against. Like when I hold something up, something can elicit a memory and feel special, but is it so special that it's worth taking up space in their memory box? And is it something that they're going to want to revisit and I'm going to want to tell the stories? Or is it like, this was really cute. I remember getting this for them and it was really fun, but I can let it go now because it's not as special as some of the other things. And so with our kids' memory boxes, I see it as a gift that I'm giving to them, that I am curating the most special of special things from their childhood. It might not be perfect, but they're not going to be overwhelmed with totes of clothes and stuffed animals and awards that they don't actually really care about. And so I really see it as a gift, but in order for it to be a special gift and not be overwhelming, we do have to keep it pared down. So memory boxes are huge in that regard. Yes, the digital form of the Bundt Cake book is absolutely still available. How do you get the kids to help with housework? So again, the 5-minute pickup. I feel overwhelmed with the mess, and I have 4 older kids at home who don't help enough. Yeah, so that's where that book, like Have a New Teenager by Friday, can be really helpful. It's not too late to start getting them involved. You do so much for them. You buy stuff for them. Like they can help. It's okay. Like, and actually, it'll give them a lot of confidence and skills they need as they grow up. I do understand when your house, though, feels a little chaotic to then also mix in having your kids help can feel stressful. I do understand that. So keep working on decluttering and then 5-minute chunks. Don't try to change, don't, turn the whole ship in one night, right? 5-minute chunks of picking up, having them help with dinner, different things like that can make a big difference. I saw a thing the other day too on Instagram. I don't know how I feel about it. And the gal was saying, uh, I don't ask the kids to help me now because that's implying that it's all my responsibility. She said, I ask the kids to work alongside me because it's all of our work to do. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of good. I don't know. I don't have a problem asking the kids to help, but I was like, that can be kind of a good mindset shift too. Will you ever go back to 2 videos a week? I won't. I loved it. I would make 7 videos a week. Like I love sharing this with you. I love sharing what I've learned, what others are doing, but I do put a lot of my, if we're talking about like allocating resources, a lot of my time and energy goes into our mentorship group and Take Your House Back. And what I love about those is it's just more interactive. Like YouTube is phenomenal. That's how we met, right? Is over YouTube. I am so grateful for YouTube. It has promoted my message and me, and I'm so glad. But we don't get to become friends as much over YouTube. And so in the groups, that's where we can actually interact. We can, ask questions and everything. So that's where I put more of my energy. But I don't know. I mean, never say never, right? But not right now. I wouldn't think I would. Once you think you're done decluttering everything, how do you keep going decluttering things? Yeah, so you kind of get into like more maintenance decluttering. And to me, it's all about like if it like your house shouldn't feel hard. No matter what season of life, I don't think at any season your house should not feel hard. And so I can always tell when the clutter is creeping up because the kids grumble about picking up their stuff on the floor all the time. It just feels like, like it feels hard again. I start to like have flashbacks of how our house used to be to manage. And I'm like, no, this is not right. Like I need to declutter more. And so I think it's just being aware of how is my house feeling? Is it like not bad to manage, like pretty easy? Or is it feeling kind of like a chore and it's kind of hard again? Which then to me would signal like, okay, I do need to keep going further because I know, or to keep maintaining it because I know how good it feels when it is decluttered. Let's see. Every time I clean, I always tend to want to change some things, like move things around, even though everything looks fine just where it is. Do you have any thoughts as to how not to feel that way? That's interesting, Robin. I don't know if I can relate to that. I think I did more when the kids were little and I had a little more bandwidth. Um, I just remember like growing up, we would always like rearrange our living room every once in a while. And it always just like felt fun and fresh. It was, our house was very small. So there wasn't like a lot of ways to arrange it, but I just remember like every so often we would do that. Um, I don't know if anyone else has any ideas around that. That would be great. Um, Sarah says, I have some dishes I inherited from my grandma 20 years ago, and my mother told me I should keep them just in case. Ah! But I kept what I wanted, and the rest have been in my closet for 6 months. Shoot, is there more to the question? You know, um, I'm gonna have a great interview coming out with Matt Paxton. He was on Hoarders, but now he has a show called Legacy List, and he has a new book out about decluttering sentimental stuff. And what I appreciate about the conversation was we were talking about, like, I have this idea of firsthand sentimental and secondhand sentimental. And so, like, firsthand sentimental is my grandma's red tablecloth. I remember it being on the table when we would go over there for celebrations. Secondhand sentimental is the crystal bowls my mom gave me. Again, love my mom, right? But she was like, "Oh, these were your grandma Adeline's. Do you want them?" And I took them because I'm like, "They're my grandma Adeline's. I should want them." I loved my grandma Adeline. Um, I love all my grandmas, but like we were close. And I got them home and I'm like, why don't these feel special to me? Like, why am I not excited to use these? Or it just feels like, who cares? They could be anybody's bowls. And I'm like, oh, because I don't remember Grandma Adeline using these bowls. And so I'm not sure exactly what your question was, Sarah, but permission to let go of any of this stuff that we have inherited, has been given to us, and we have no emotional attachment to it other than someone said you should keep this is important, keep it for just in case, or whatever reason they wanted us to keep it. So definitely permission to let that kind of stuff go, and we keep the treasures, we keep the truly special stuff, we promote that, we use it, we tell the stories about it, and then the other stuff, we demote that and we let it go. Let's see. Julia says, I've been watching you for a couple of years and feel like I've made huge progress. I have 4 kids, ages 7, 5, 3, and 1. Oh man. And toys are so hard. Plus, I feel like things are a mess still. Too much still? Yes. Yes, Julia, 100% still too much. So permission to continue to let things go. Right after Christmas, I'm going to talk more about toys. I'll make sure you know about it and we can talk about it together for those who are interested. Oh, toys suck because we are just marketed to that kids need toys and this is what makes a happy childhood and birthdays and Christmas and all that. Kids don't hardly need any toys. Our kids were so much more happy and content when I highly simplified the toys. And the best way with those ages 7, 5, 3, and 1 is that you pick it up, you can keep it. I pick it up, I keep it. And anything that's getting left out that they have lost value for, they have lost value for because they're not even willing to pick it up at the end of the night. That's awesome. You get to take it, tuck away in a box, donate it after a little bit. But at any age and stage, kids should be able to mostly like pick up and maintain their toys and their belongings on their own. And so they don't need a lot. They'll be happier and more content with fewer toys, less stressed. They'll play better. They'll play longer. They'll engage themselves. They'll be so creative and so content with fewer toys. So complete permission to declutter and let them go. And with those ages, I would actually do it without them home if you want to do like a big toy declutter. And that's what I don't have the book Simplicity Parenting in front of me. The author of that says parents have permission to declutter kids' toys without them. So totally okay. Any plans on doing another decluttering video with your mom? We've actually been talking about it. So yes, I would love to do that. My mom's great on video. So yes, I think that would be super fun. This is firsthand sentimental, but they feel more like clutter. I remember she used to use them. They are treasures, but the excess feels like clutter. Yeah, permission to let it go then. Not all firsthand things are special enough for us to keep either. You might keep one piece of it, you might keep no pieces of it. If you're like, it has crossed over, like if our value meter for something, we're like, oh, it used to be special. Now it's a burden. Now it's clutter. Now it's a pain. Anything. It doesn't even have to be sentimental stuff. Clothing, toys, like toys are a pain point. That means we have too many. So I need to declutter it back down to where toys are an asset. So that goes for any of these things, even photos, right? Sentimental stuff is meant to, it serves a purpose. It has a purpose to jog happy memories and to remind us of special times and special people. But we have too many, it's a burden, right? So we got to get it back down to the point where it's an asset and it's doing its job. So complete permission to let that stuff go. Oh man, we should probably wind up. It's fine. We've been visiting for over an hour. I love it. I really enjoy getting to visit with you. Oh, Lillian, I'm just seeing. Friends, I don't like to sell stuff. Obviously, like I don't sell stuff, but Lillian says my whole house needs decluttered. I start and get overwhelmed in one room and then start another room. It's all such an emotional drain. Now I have started a started mess in several rooms. Suggestions. You might need some extra support by way of the Take Your House Back course. Like that's what the course is for. That's what the mentorship group are for, because you are not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. A lot of us just need some extra accountability and motivation, a game plan. We need to be able, like in our mentorship group, people will take a picture and say like, okay, my goal is to do this today. And then others, if they don't see a reply, they'll be like, hey, how's that space going? Hey, where's the after picture? And so it's not wrong if we need some extra help and accountability. But again, it doesn't have to be even in way of one of my courses or things that we do. You could find someone in your natural context, a friend, a sister, a neighbor, someone like that, that can help hold you accountable. Maybe they'll come over for a half hour. Body doubling is huge. Like anybody that could just come over and just sit, they don't even have to help you. I mean, if they help, that's great, but just sit with you and hold you accountable. That's okay if you just need a little extra help in that way. If we previously purchased the Monk Cake book, is there a way we can get the updated version digitally? Yes, you should have received an email. Actually, it'll come from support@theminimalmom.com. So you might want to search for that. You should have been sent a link with the updated version, as well as a way to see the videos that I made to go with it as well. There is a waitlist for mentorship program. When will there be openings? Soon, very soon, within the next week or so. So yes, if you're seeing that message and you sign up, you will, and I'll be announcing it publicly too, so you'll know when we have it open. So I forgot. I kind of jumped the gun with that, Jackie. I wasn't going to talk about my mentorship group today, so we'll be opening it up here very shortly, though. Okay. Oh, so many good questions. We'll stop there. Darn it. I know I'm like, I had to put the blinders on because it'd be fun to keep going. But I'll try to really populate the description with any links that we talked about. But man, thank you so much for your support, for supporting Dorothy, for supporting me, sharing what we do with your friends and family. You're all so kind, and I'm so grateful for you. And I've really enjoyed getting to know you and to get to hang out with you and to help you. And I want so badly for you to have a fully decluttered house in 2024. it changes everything. Like I said, I think minimalism is so undervalued, and you don't have to be a minimalist. That's fine. But man, having a simplified house where you don't feel like you're allocating your precious resources to managing stuff and shuffling stuff around, it changes everything. It changes everything. And I really want that for you too. So we're going to stick together. I'm going to keep helping any way that I can, and it's going to be really good. All right. Well, I love you. I hope you have a really good day, and I'll see you again soon.